supposed to be opened by authorized personnel only. But that's me. I'm actually really, really hyped about this. I also have like a journal set up and everything. This is the folder. Oh my God, there's so much stuff. Okay. Yo, how are you? So literally all I've done is open the evidence thing. It says authorized personnel only. I figured this is the best setup because my laptop can kind of get like what I'm showing, and then my phone can sort of, I don't know, it's kind of cool. I figured like the 2 camera setup would be a lot better because like it's not like you can see really like when it's down, if that makes any sense. Okay, so these, it looks like we can't open these ones until after we finish the objective. So I'm gonna put the envelopes aside for now and see. All of Twitch chat, yeah, we're a team, we're an FBI team, it's fine. So basically they have to like, you know, make sure that you know it's a fictional crime. It's not real. So the first objective it says is to prove someone was in the room with Jamie. So essentially, this is our victim here. This is Jamie Banks. She's our victim. She was 18. Hold on, let me put this aside. She was 18 and she fell out the window, okay? She fell out the window of her high school newspaper room. It was a 6th floor window, like, and originally, it was ruled like a suicide, okay? So people were like, oh, Jamie Banks fell out the window, boom, gone, you know, it's a suicide. But she was murdered. And we have to figure out exactly who did it. So it says we have to prove someone was in the room with Jamie. It says when you prove someone was in the room with Jamie just before she died, visit this webpage to see if you're right. So we're going to have to check because I guess that follows the second objective after. And then that's when we open bonus envelope 1, if that makes sense. So we have lots of paperwork here. Oh my God. Oh, this is the first. This guy here is a suspect. Who is he? Okay. Oh, and then this is evidence photos. Ooh, I like opening the secret envelopes, so I'm gonna open this and see. All right, these are our evidence photos. Did I forget one? Oh no, it's just a very stiff envelope. What the heck? So we do have like 5 suspects here. We're going full investigation mode, okay? We have to prove that the first thing we have to do here is prove that someone was in the room with her, okay? So the first thing I'm gonna do is look at the evidence. This is the photographs from the crime scene. Not gonna lie, it's really hard to take this seriously when this is the first picture. It's clearly posed, but I guess this is her after she fell. 0 blood, just, I can't explain it. And for some reason, one of her shoes came off. Do you see that? One of her shoes came off. I don't know how that could have possibly happened, but there it is. So that's what I collected from this. It was at 10:51 a.m., November 20th, 1992. What's this here? We have the room at 11:02 a.m., Verona Voice, room 622. I don't know how that's evidence, but I guess they're just taking a picture of everything that is relevant. This is the newspaper room at 11:04. So the window is just wide open. So she literally opened the window and was like, peace out, I'm going. Someone also left a message on the computer, which is interesting. It says, the pressure was too much. I couldn't take it anymore. Goodbye, Jamie. So someone wrote a suicide note on her behalf to make it look like a suicide. This was at 11:09 a.m. That is kind of fucked up, actually. Who would do that? Okay, this is the principal, Janice Dowling. I don't know how this is evidence per se, but we're just gonna come back to it. Who's Robert Romezio? Maybe we will learn who Robert Romezio is. I don't know. Craig Zimmerman. Maybe this is the newspaper team at the school. Joey Ferrari. Sick name. All right, here. There's some items found in the victim's pocket. So she had $100 in her pocket. Okay, rich bitch. She had a bottle of poison. She had keys and a pen. Interesting. And what's this? Oh, found in victim's pocket. It's, weirdly enough, parlay bets over here. Colts, Hornets, Bruins, Rams. So it's hockey and football? Talk to Joey, see what he says. Did they have a little bet going on? Maybe he killed her because she was winning the parlay and he couldn't have a girl beat him. All right, let's see what we got here. Suspect packet, crimes. Okay, so this is just a list of everything that comes in this envelope. So we don't really need that paper anymore. What else we got here? We have surveillance footage of Jamie after she fell. Now, the creepy part about this, so it looks like she fell at 10:31. According to this camera, she fell at 10:31. But there's someone that's like going to check on her and runs away. Unless that's the person that found her at 10:40. So she literally was laying there for 10 minutes. Interesting. 10:30. I'm going to write this in my notes here, just so I remember the details. She fell at 10:31. Found, question mark, at 10:40. All right. Hi, Sujay. We're solving a murder. All right. Let's see here. What's this? Missing Olivia Underwood, Sophie Sunday, Paul Preakness, Marilyn Roberts. So these are the people that are missing from the photo, but I don't know what the relevance of this photo is. Let me see if it'll tell me on this paper what this is. It just says it's the East Verona High School picture. So interesting. Maybe we'll leave that there so I can reference it here. What else we got here? Okay, I'm gonna see if I could take a look at the suspects first. I'm in the CSI, Sujay. Okay, we're gonna look at Paul Preakness first. This guy. So, ironically, from what I noticed, is he's missing from this group photo. A little weird. Where were you, Paul? Where were you? I'm going to write his name in my little journal. We know what we're doing here. All right, Paul. Let me move this so you don't get confused in my little camera. Okay. This is who we're looking at first, Paul. It says, shows he's single, place of birth, scars. He has a tattoo. Okay. Brown hair, blue eyes. No outstanding warrants. Okay. He's the drama teacher. So that's how he's connected to all of this. Any dental records? No. He's still alive, so we don't need the dental records. So he's the drama educator, according to this paper here. Let me see this here. So his statement, he said, when Jamie jumped, I was in the auditorium fixing part of the Romeo and Juliet set. That checks out because he wasn't in this school photo. So that's where he claims he was. The balcony where Romeo calls up to Juliet had tipped over during our opening night performance, and the entire support structure collapsed. It had to be addressed before tomorrow's performance, so it was either miss the pep rally or miss the game, so I opted out of the pep rally. Okay, and it says Robert Romero can confirm his whereabouts, because I guess Robert Romero was with him. Okay. That makes sense. Okay. That kind of checks out. So he has an alibi. So that's his... It makes sense for now. He's not safe yet. What's this here? Oh, it's his interview. So he said he's devastated and he's struggling. Just want to check to make sure the facts are right. So he knew Jamie very well. It says he knew her the whole 4 years she was in high school, and she was in the play. This is his wait. Oh, and it was his first year teaching at the school when he met her. Okay, this is kind of strange to say. Thank you for following Miracle Boy. And thank you for saying that. This is kind of interesting. Listen to his wording here. He says, I was fresh out of graduate school, so you could say we grew up together in our own ways. I watched her develop from a young girl into a mature, beautiful woman so quickly. Why would he say that about a student? So maybe he didn't push her, but maybe he was a pedophile. I don't really know. It says, okay, so he states he was fixing an issue with the set before the show on Saturday, so that's why he wasn't at the pep rally. And then he claims Robert Romero came by to tell him what happened to Jamie. So he was alone. In my little notes there. Robert came by and told me she had jumped. It was such a shock. It says the set held up during the performance, but when we were moving it off stage during an intermission, a couple of our stagehands tipped it over, so that's why he was fixing the structure. He says Jamie got along with everybody. She used to be really close to Olivia, but there was a bit of jealousy on Olivia's part because she really wanted to play Juliet. But Jamie played Juliet. Okay, so I'm going to put here Olivia and then jealous question mark. You never know, seriously. Like, he's a little sus still. He says she is one of the most talented women I've ever met. She had the character of an old soul. You'd easily think she was 10 years older than she really was. I honestly think he is creepy as hell for saying all of this, especially to a cop. He's 29 and Jamie was 18. And he says, oh, she felt 10 years older than she really was. That's weird. I don't like this dude. The detective literally said, interesting. Because really, that's interesting, Paul. Lock him up for real. So, oh my God, wait. So the detective said, did you have any interactions with Jamie this morning? And he said, yes, and I'll probably regret it for the rest of my life. And then the detective asked what happened, and he said, this is so hard for me. You see, I hadn't read Zimmerman's review in The Voice yet, so I had no idea why she seemed down when I saw her, and stupidly, I didn't even bother to ask what was wrong. I just handed her a $100 bill I owed her for paint she bought. Oh, that's why she had $100 in her pocket. And told her I'd see her later. Those pouty eyes she gave me as I walked away will be forever burned into my memory. Oh, I don't like this guy. I don't like the way he talks about her. Didn't know you were in law enforcement? Yeah, it's my new thing. Anyways. Did Jamie ever tell you about an affair she was having? And then he said, what? What are you talking about? Was that in a suicide note? Why would you assume there's a suicide note? The detective said they heard she was seeing someone, but it was a secret. Oh my God, she was probably seeing the teacher. I think she was seeing the teacher. And then he said, now that you mention it, I do remember her saying something like that. During audition, she said something about relating to the character because of her own forbidden relationship. Maybe that's why she was so perfect for the role, you know, a young, attractive girl. Weird to call her attractive as her teacher. With full heart struggling with a forbidden romance. I recall her saying she wanted to scream it from the rooftops, but couldn't, or something like that. Teenage girls say a lot of weird stuff. You would know, Paul. You would know. And then the detective asked why the show got a bad review in the school paper. And he said, I was so angry about that when I finally read it. Hemingway once called critics men who watch a battle from a high place only to come down to shoot the survivors. I agree. I don't know what that jerk was thinking. It's so vulnerable going on stage. You pour your heart into a performance and expose your soul. It's clear to me that Zimmerman is to blame for all of this. What he wrote about her performance was abhorrent and completely untrue. I have no doubt that's what led to her suicide. So he claims she committed suicide because of the bad review in Romeo and Juliet play, which, cringe, Paul, why would you even say that? Maybe it was the relationship with you that I think she had. Plot twist. He asked, so then the detective said, so you don't think it was the secret affair that led to her death? And he said, well, I don't know. Maybe it was both things. Did you bring Craig in here? Who's Craig? Maybe Craig Zimmerman, the one that wrote the article. And the detective said he was in the gym when she fell, and writing a bad review isn't a crime. So he was here. So Zimmerman is in the group photo, so he has an alibi. He wasn't in the room with her. Is there anything else you want to tell us? Were you aware of any other relationships Jamie was involved in? And he said, other relationships? No, I think she dated Johnny Rocca for a brief time a couple years ago, but I'm pretty sure he's with the coach's daughter now. I'm sorry, but that's all I can help you with. That's all I know. And the detective said, thank you for your time. If you have any plans to leave town in the next few weeks, I'm going to need you to let me know first. He's sus of him. I feel it. And then he was free to go. So that's what we have on Paul. And honestly, I think Paul, it could be a little sus. Like, I think so far, I know I've only heard one witness statement or one suspect statement, but I already think it's him. I can't get over some of the things he said. It's a little crazy. I think a good segue. I know that literally he's already so sus. Okay. So I think what we can do, what's this? I thought this was going to be the bad article, but it's not. This is the local paper for when she died. It says local teen dead in apparent suicide. 18-year-old Jamie Banks was found dead Friday morning, having appeared to take her own life by leaping from a 6-story window of her school, though foul play has not been ruled out. Police say the body of the East Verona High School senior was found immediately by another student. They estimate the time of death to be 10:10 a.m. Lies. The footage said 10:31. Hi, Nick. How you doing? It says she was described by friends, classmates, and family members as well-liked and mature. She was the kind of girl who was always into something. The 18-year-old was described by faculty members as well-behaved and deeply curious. Typing teacher Mr. Keaton recalls it was a pleasure to see her face in class every day. She'll be missed. She had a 3.5 grade point average, etc., etc. She had ambitious plans for college. She appeared in the school play. She was in Grease, Peter and the Wolf, and Romeo and Juliet. She was immersed into acting, and she took it very seriously. A bad review she received in the school paper really upset her. So her co-star, Olivia, she ended up being the understudy, but she was jealous that Jamie got the role as Juliet. So she was Juliet's understudy. She talks highly about Jamie. She says she's a very gifted actress and she inspired her with her trying. Jamie worked so hard to play Juliet. She tried so hard to pull it off. Her effort was so admirable. They did find a suicide note, but the contents are confidential, which we already saw the picture. And okay, so here's my theory so far. My theory is this guy Paul, he claims Olivia was jealous, but I think he was low-key trying to frame Olivia because like he needed to like bounce off himself, because I think he was having a secret relationship with Jamie. I think that's my theory. So this article here is about Johnny Rocca, who was brought up. Apparently he's the, I'm assuming, quarterback or something of the football team. So it says they lost. They lost the football game. He was in his third consecutive year being voted All-State, and many expected the star running back, he's the running back, to lead the Spartans to an easy victory. Instead, they witnessed the worst game of his career. He carried the ball 27 times for a net yardage of -1 and fumbled 4 times. He was also flagged 5 times for unsportsmanlike conduct before getting ejected. He was asked about scholarship offers from USC, Stanford, and Boston during a local TV morning show. The handsome running back blushed and said his only hope was to make everyone in Verona proud. It's unlikely his Friday night performance achieved that goal. Late in the game, the angry crowd began chanting, "We want Russell," a demand for him to be replaced by his backup running back, Emmanuel Russell. When asked about his poor performance, a stunned Rocca could only shake his head. The only thing Rocca had to say about the dreadful performance was, "I just felt really empty out there, like I was all alone. I couldn't focus. It was really loud and the pressure was too high." So this is interesting because I don't know why they would put this article about Rocca, but maybe like because he's a suspect, we have to see that he was in like a weird state that night. Like he was pretty hurt. Maybe he was like distracted and like mourning Jamie, because Paul said they were in a relationship before, so maybe like he still had feelings or something. Maybe Johnny, low-key, he could either be grieving or feel guilty because maybe he pushed her because he was upset that she was having an affair with the teacher. That could be, honestly, that's a good theory. All right, let's see who else we got here, or what else we have here. All right. So, this is the evidence property custody document. Let me see here. So this is the evidence. She was in a blue and white flannel button-down shirt, covered in dried blood, mostly on the back, tested in 12 locations, no indication of blood or other evidence from any individual other than the victim. So they found no DNA of anybody else. No blood on the undershirt as well. It says her blue jeans were Guess brand. Wow, they really had to specify. Interesting. No noticeable damage beyond normal wear, sorry. It says, it just says basically all the evidence where it went. Like it says her kin, Linda Banks, I'm assuming is her mom. Oh, there's more. She was wearing earrings. She had blue sneakers in new condition. A few small splatters of orange, yellow, and red house paint on the left shoe, and a smudge of clay on the right, which I'm assuming is from working on the set because Paul said she had to buy paint. Nothing unusual found in undergarments. She had a small spiral notebook, and the pages were blank except one. and it looked like math homework. This is not math homework, honey. These are football odds and hockey odds. And it says talk to Joey on it. So that's not math homework. These cops are idiots. Okay, so then they found a bottle marked poison. It was a brown bottle. No smell or residue of unusual substances or narcotics. Not sure what it was for. So I think the poison bottle was actually just the prop used in Romeo and Juliet. That's what I would gather, because you drink poison when you play Juliet, obviously. And there was no liquid in it, so it was probably just a prop. A blue and white pen has 4 different colors of ink: black, red, green, blue. Keychain with keys. $100 bill, which was the $100 that Paul gave her for the paint. So that all checks out. Okay, we're gonna leave that one for now. Let's see what else we got here. Maybe we'll leave the... We'll head on to another suspect, I think. We'll do one of her... Let's do Olivia, because they were talking about Olivia before. So this is Olivia Underwood. She is the one that Paul was pointing fingers at because she was Juliet's understudy and she was jealous that she didn't get the role of Juliet. So it says person of interest, She has no prior arrests, no outstanding warrants. Obviously, she's a kid. So her statement says, she was walking to the pep rally when she started feeling violently ill out of nowhere. She ran to the first floor girls' bathroom and got there just in time to puke her guts out in the toilet. I was really messed up and couldn't leave the bathroom for a pretty long time. Just as I was starting to regain my composure, I heard a terrible scream. I looked out the window to see Jamie just lying there limp and lifeless. It was awful. I collected myself and ran down to see if there was anything I could do to help. It says her classmate Sophie Sunday confirms her whereabouts because she was also at the body. And it says Janice Dowling, the principal, can also confirm her whereabouts at the time of the incident. So I'm assuming this is a true thing. She probably was ill, because even though she was not in the school picture, she didn't go to the pep rally. It says Sophie Sunday and Olivia both weren't there, but it was because she was... Yes, this is going to be on YouTube. This is going to be on YouTube for sure. Hi, Fragaboom. Okay, let me see here. She was the second person to get to Jamie's body, and she might also be the last person to talk with her before she jumped. Oh gosh. She says, she and I have been working closely together on the school's production of Romeo and Juliet because she's Juliet and I'm her understudy. We also had typing class together right before she jumped. Our opening night for Romeo and Juliet was last night and it went okay, but Jamie got a really critical review in the school newspaper and I thought it was a bit harsh but honest. Okay, she thought it was harsh, but she thought it was honest. Huh. Maybe Sophie is a part of it. I don't know. So she said she asked Jamie about it and she seemed really bothered, not angry or sad. She just seemed really deep in thought. I just assumed she was reconsidering whether she wanted to play Juliet. She seems like a better fit for Rosaline to me. Rosaline? But Mr. Preakness makes the casting decisions and you can't change his mind. She was quiet all through second period and I couldn't get anything out of her, so I let it go. I guess she wasn't totally out of it because she and Amber Wheaton were the only ones that got 100 on the caps lock test. Of course, we've been practicing those for a while. It wasn't hard. I got a 90. So there was typing class because this happened in 1992. Just clarifying. After the bell rang, I asked if she wanted to walk with me down to the pep rally. They were doing something for the football guys because of the championship match tonight. She just said she had to go take care of something in the newsroom. I asked what was going on, and she said something like, it's not something I could talk about yet. I was kind of surprised and a little hurt, but obviously it makes sense now. For what it's worth, I didn't think she did all that bad, but I'm confident Robert and I will be able to pick up where she left off. It's a tragedy, but the show must go on. At the very least, I'm sure we won't get another review like that from Craig. What? Olivia, you snake. You actual snake. She's like, yeah, that's really sad, but the show must go on and I get to play Juliet, and also we probably won't get a bad review now that she's gone. What? This girl's psycho. So her interview with the detective, she asked if Robert Romero was present for the interview, and the detective said no. He was seen on the surveillance video, which we saw in the picture, right after Jamie, so we're confident he couldn't have been on the 6th floor with her. We're talking to everyone else who isn't in the class picture that was taken when she fell, like you. Can you tell me where you were during the pep rally? And she said it was the weirdest thing. As I was heading to the pep rally, I started feeling really sick, so I dashed off to the bathroom. Next thing I knew, I was hugging the toilet bowl. And then they asked what floor bathroom she was in, and she was in the 1st floor. So she couldn't have just ran all the way up to the 6th. She said, first I puked my guts out, then I look out the window to see a dead body. And then the detective asked how she wound it up there before everyone else, being so sick. And she said, I wasn't the first, Robert was. I heard her scream, and by the time I made it over to the bathroom window to see what the noise was, he was crouched down next to her. Then he stood up and ran away. By the time I got there, it was just me and the body. I was by myself for maybe 10 seconds or so when Sophie Sunday came running up next to me. We were both really scared and not really sure what to do. Then 20 or 30 seconds later, Miss Dowling and some other teachers came running up to us and took control. Then the detective asks, here's where it gets interesting. He says, were you and Jamie close friends? And Olivia said, yeah, we were friends, not exactly close friends. And she said, we didn't always see eye to eye on everything, especially when it came to theater stuff. He says, what's going on with the play now that Jamie's no longer here? And she says, I was Jamie's understudy. I know all her lines, maybe even better than she did. So I'm ready to take over for her. Of course, it'll be very emotional, but the show must go on. Interesting. The detective said, won't that be hard for you, stepping into the lead so quick? And she said, not for me. You have to seize every opportunity in life because it might be your last. I really wanted that role from the get-go and have been ready to replace her at any time for any reason. This could be my first big break. Well, the thing is, Fragaboom, is she has an alibi. Like, she has 2 people confirm that she was sick. Like Sophie and the principal signed a thing that said they can confirm her whereabouts. The detective said, lucky break, huh? And Olivia said, I wouldn't say it like that. I mean, it's tragic for sure, but you can't blame someone for embracing an opportunity that presents itself. It's not like I pushed her out the window. And the detective said, you think someone pushed her? And she said, no, I just meant, like it wasn't my fault this happened. Why do you think Jamie got the role of Juliet instead of you? Good question. I guess you'd have to ask Mr. Preakness. He really doesn't like anyone challenging his casting decision. Seemed to me like he had his mind up before the auditions. Quite frankly, I think he had a thing for Jamie. She confirmed it. So she literally knew she had the role before the audition because she knew Mr. Preakness liked her. And then the detective asked, tell me about the boy who found the body, Romero. Is he your boyfriend? And she said, Robert, no, he's not my boyfriend, but he does have a little thing for me. After he got cast as Romeo, he pushed pretty hard for me to be Juliet. I think maybe he felt like if we played lovers on the stage, I'd fall for him in real life. It's pretty clear he's into me. He'll do anything I ask. Oh my God, maybe it was him. Maybe she asked him. Oh my God, maybe she told Robert to do it for her. Oh my God. And then the detective said, anything? And she said, you know what I mean. He thinks he's Romeo Montague and I'm his Juliet. It's cute. And then they asked, did Jamie have a boyfriend, romantic interest? And she said, I don't think so. She was pretty in her own way, of course. Shady. But she was one of those girls who was a bit too mature for the high school boys, I think. So how are you feeling now? Oh, sad to be sure, but I'm trying to see the bright side. I'm excited to have the lead in the play finally. And then the detective said, I meant your stomach. And she said, oh, yeah, I'm fine now. Thanks for asking. I think the whole situation shocked me back to health. I didn't think about it for a while, and now I feel normal. It must have been something I ate. The detective said, quick recovery. That'll be all for now, Miss Underwood. Okay, so she's a shady bitch, and I think she could have potentially asked somebody to push Jamie. Where did the... Uh-oh. Did I lose the... Oh, no, I got it. So I think it could either be that Paul... Maybe Olivia was jealous and she knew Paul and Jamie had a relationship, so she asked Robert to do it. The butler. There's no butlers in high school, don't worry. The butlers. Oh, here's Johnny. Okay, wait. This is Johnny Rocca, and he's the football player that fumbled Friday. He fumbled big time. So he could have been grieving, or he could have felt guilty or something. We don't know this yet. We won't lose the classified documents, don't worry. All right, so let's see. He has a tattoo. Oh my God, this is funny. It says martial arts. Like, they asked, like, do you know martial arts? He wrote, does football count? What an idiot. Okay, let's see this. So Sophie Sunday is Johnny's girlfriend. So let's just link that together. So Johnny and Sophie Sunday, which Sophie Sunday is Olivia's alibi as well. Okay, so he had walked his girlfriend, Sophie Sunday, to the girls' second floor bathroom at the beginning of third period and waited for her just outside the door. He thought she'd only be a minute or two, but it took forever because she was trying to get a soda stain off her sweater. So he went in to keep her company. And anyway, there was suddenly a scream and a loud thud. We ran over to the window and saw Jamie laying there on the ground. I ran back to the pep rally to alert others of what I'd seen, and Sophie went down to check on her. Okay, so Sophie wasn't in the bathroom with Olivia, but she can verify the whereabouts because they went to check on the body together, is what I'm gathering. So it says, how well did you know Jamie Banks? And he said that they had a few classes together and they dated a few summers ago, but it didn't last. And the detective asked if they got back together, even in secret, because it's clear Jamie had a secret relationship that she was hiding. And Johnny says, do you mean like, did I cheat on Sophie? She'd kill me if she ever found out I was cheating on her, and her dad is my coach. So, and he clarifies Sophie Sunday is the coach's daughter. And then he said, I didn't mean that to sound like I would cheat on her. I wouldn't, and I haven't. Sophie would do anything for me, and there's nothing going on between me and Jamie. Then the detective said that they took a picture of everybody at the pep rally the same time Jamie fell, and he wasn't in this picture. So he was also not at the pep rally. And he claims he wasn't there because he was on his way, but he got held up in the second floor bathroom because Sophie was trying to get a soda stain out of her shirt. And then he clarifies, the detective said, what were you doing? And he said, fooling around. They were kissing, no big deal. So he claims he was in the bathroom with Sophie. And the detective said, let's back up a little bit. How did you two wind up in there when everybody else was in the gym? And he said they were headed to the gym, but she was crying her face off about some stain on her sweater that you couldn't even see. And she asked me to wait for her outside the girls' bathroom as she tried to wash it off or something. But she was in there forever, and eventually the halls emptied. So he went in to check on her. And this bathroom was located on the second floor, right next to the south parking lot where Jamie fell. And the bathroom that Olivia was in the first floor. Okay. So apparently Jamie let out a loud scream, and that's why they didn't miss it when she fell. And they ran over to the window, saw her. Sophie went to check on her, but oh my God, what the heck? Okay, listen to this. We both ran over to the window and saw her there. Sophie went to check on her, but I have the game tonight. and was supposed to be at the pep rally, so I just ran around and snuck into the gym to join everybody there. I told a few people what I'd seen and it spread pretty quick. You see someone jump out of a window, and instead of running to the body and seeing if they're okay or trying to call the cops, he decides, well, I have a game tonight, so I can't really miss the pep rally. That's kind of fucked up. Why would he do that? The detective says, how chivalrous of you, for real. And he says, what? And the detective says, never mind. I understand Jamie was about to publish an expose in the newspaper. What do you think it was about? And he said he didn't. Johnny claims he doesn't know. Probably Griffin stealing spoons again, maybe from the cafeteria. And the detective said she had a notebook full of your stats. And we do have proof of that right here. In her notebook that was found on her were a bunch of stats and numbers. And the spreads for every game of the season. And he said, a lot of girls take my stats, and there's a lot more women into betting than you think. It doesn't prove Joey and I were up to anything, and it sure as heck doesn't make me a criminal. And then they said, who's Joey? Joey Ferrari. Now, I don't understand why he would bring up Joey Ferrari. This is Joey. I don't know why he would bring up Joey when he was not even relative to this conversation. That's kind of weird, isn't it? Huh. Very strange behavior. And apparently Johnny said, Joey takes all the bets in school, so you couldn't throw a game without Joey knowing. Even teachers place bets with him, girls too. Maybe you should talk to him. He'll confirm nothing's going on. But Mr. Ferrari, Joey, was at the pep rally. So he's not a suspect. So Joey might have some things to say, but he was present at the pep rally, which means he did not push Jamie. And then he said, so the detective basically said Mr. Ferrari was at the pep rally. He's not a suspect. And Johnny said, a suspect for what? Skipping a pep rally? Going in the girl's bathroom? And detective said, no, a suspect for murder. Basically, Johnny claims murder. What murder? Jamie jumped out a window. So he claims that Jamie jumped and it wasn't a murder. So, I don't know. He could just be trying to, like, take the blame off. Sujay, it totally is. The detective said no, but it sure would be murder if someone pushed her and made it look like suicide. Someone who was just about to be exposed for betting on their own football games. Heck, if that got out, it'd ruin your football career for good. He said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I really have to get back to the team. The bus leaves in less than an hour, and as I said, Sophie can confirm that I was nowhere near Jamie when it happened. And then he said, yes, Sophie, your loyal girlfriend who'd do anything for you, even lie to cover up for you or worse. That'll be all for now. Good luck tonight. We'll be watching you, Mr. Rocca. Then after this, he throws the game. He had the worst game of his whole career. So maybe, possibly, Jamie found out that it was fixed and he was going to throw the game for the sake of betting and making money. And maybe that is his, his deal. Maybe he set up the murder because, he was about to be outed. Maybe, Tetsue. A little bit. If they were at the pep rally, they can't be the suspect, but the one guy watched her fall out and still had time to go to the pep rally. It was after everyone found out, though. Like, someone pushed her while the pep rally was going on. How you doing, Thomas? All right, so now here we have the closed case. They have all the facts lined up. And basically the reason why they closed the case at first is because they did think it was a suicide. So it says on Friday, November 20th at 10:19 a.m., Stu called the police department to report a suicide that had taken place, which is very interesting to me because if we go back to the camera footage, it says she didn't fall till 10:31. So how did Stu, hold on. Look, she's not there in this first picture at 10:30, but she's there 10:31 on the ground. So my question is, why did she fall at 10:31? But it says Stu Collier called the police to report a suicide at 10:19 a.m. That is kind of weird. So called in at 10:19, fell at 10:31. That's kind of weird. I think that's a little strange. Maybe Stu is a suspect. It says first responders arrived at the scene within 6 minutes of receiving the call. By that time, there was a crowd of teachers surrounding the victim's body. The victim was already deceased. They fell from the 6th floor. They typed a suicide note on the computer. And that suicide note, we do have a picture of. It basically just says, I couldn't handle it, or I couldn't take the pressure, or something along those lines. Let me see. It says, the pressure was too much. I couldn't take it anymore. Goodbye. So whoever pushed her framed it to look like she committed suicide because of the poor review of her Romeo and Juliet performance, which is kind of weak in terms of narrative. But it says, the victim had previous suicidal thoughts and received treatment from a school counselor for bipolar tendencies. And she also received a negative review of her theater performance in the school newspaper that morning. So it shows the significant evidence. 5 students and staff, all 5 of those individuals were thoroughly interrogated. The school newspaper cover story was critical of the victim's performance, the typed suicide note, the victim's clothing. No signs of struggle or foul play, and nothing unusual was found. And the coroner's report also found no foul play, so that's why they ruled it a suicide. The witness statement, so Robert Romero, which we haven't looked through his statement just yet, he's the one that found the body, and he heard screaming and a thud, and he was there within 10 to 15 seconds. So it couldn't have been Robert Romero because it happened on the 6th floor. You know what I mean? So how would you go find the body within 10 to 15 seconds if you were all the way on the 6th floor? Dr. Benjamin Gelding was the guidance counselor who worked with her, so maybe we can look through his next. So they couldn't find any foul play, so that's why they believe that she had committed suicide. She was not under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or any other narcotic, and she was distraught because of the newspaper article. Okay, so we have the coroner report. Jamie has Kanye vibes? Kind of, maybe. You don't know. Okay, so we have the coroner report. Let me see. So they ruled it a suicide. High school, never married. Student. Okay, her next of kin, Roland Sherman and Linda Banks. So Linda Banks is her mom. She was listed as her next of kin on the other sheet as well. So it says time of death, 10:10 a.m. I guess that's just what they gathered, but the camera definitely says 10:31. So that's interesting. It's a lot pushed back because they called it 10:19. That still will get me. I'm confused a little bit with that. She was last seen alive at 9:55 a.m. on the 3rd floor. So that was apparently Olivia was the last person to see her on the 3rd floor. Yo, how you doing, Yusuf? How are ya? We're going to look into the creepy teachers. We already looked into one, the drama teacher, and I think there was a situation going on. I swear. Okay, she was leaning slightly on the left when they found her. No body decomp. Massive internal organ rupture and failure was technically the cause of death due to the high velocity impact with the pavement. Okay. And it says the wound location was her head, her neck, her abdomen, lower back, spine, upper and lower extremities. It says it appears she jumped out of the 6th floor window. It seems she landed flat on her back, nearly parallel. There's no suspicious activity. The severity of the injuries is consistent with the fall on the pavement, 70 to 90 feet up. and this matches the height of the window. So it claims the victim's counselor reported a history of bipolar disorder, so people think that that could have been a contributing factor. There's no evidence suggesting foul play based on the examination of the body, and that's pretty much it. Just cost of transport, $210. Wow, they even put the price to transport the body. That's a little wild. And everything was authorized to Linda Banks, who is her mom. So there's nothing really crazy on the coroner report. All right. So here we have the Verona Voice. This is the bad review of the Romeo and Juliet play. So it was written by Craig Zimmerman, and it says that she bombed. So it's specifically about Jamie Banks's role. It says here that the production has the talent but lacks heart. More specifically, it lacks a Juliet with the heart needed to gain the audience's empathy. Brutal. It says actress Jamie Banks has already demonstrated her ability to tackle complex theatrical roles. We've seen her in the production of Little Shop of Horrors as well as other plays. Juliet is a role that requires more than a memorizer of lines. It requires an empathetic figure to guide us into the play's moral center, and Jamie Banks isn't up to the task. Without that, nothing in Romeo and Juliet can work, and it didn't. Oh my god, that's so mean. Why would he write this? He also claims to be very big fan of Robert Romero as Romeo. He claims he gave a superb performance, giving us all the wide-eyed infatuation of a teenager in the grips of young love, and the production designers deserve kudos for admirably turning the auditorium into 14th century Italy. But without a warm Juliet, Romero might as well have been acting with a mannequin. In a role that demands warmth, Banks provided a Juliet straight from Antarctica. It seems pretty clear after seeing her dazzle us with performances in the past that we finally found her weakness, playing a real person with a real heart. But then again, maybe having a real heart is something Banks simply can't fake. Oh my god, this guy's brutal. Why is Craig Zimmerman so against Jamie? They pushed her out, Fragaboom. Exactly. That's exactly why there is no evidence of foul play. What I'm gathering from this is I think Craig had feelings for Jamie and he's taking it out in cell style, I think. And he's jealous because the teacher got her and he didn't. I'm so serious. Now, the inside of the newspaper, there's a lot of random facts that we don't really need to know, like next week's cafeteria menu, sloppy joes, nachos, typical. Pottery Olympics, all that stuff. We don't really need to read all of this newspaper. There is an article by Joey Ferrari, who is the running back, and this is pre-game Friday. And basically, they were saying how important this game is. They've been waiting all season long for this game. Sorry, Johnny Rocca is the running back, but this was written by Joey Ferrari, who manages the bets. That's my bad. I mistaken it a little bit. So it says the Spartans nearly blew a 10-point lead with less than 2 minutes left when Johnny Rocca infamously fumbled the ball right into the opposing team's hand for an easy defensive touchdown. Oh, this is... Wait. Oh. Yeah, this is before the Friday night. So he fumbled on another day, but he ended up making up for it despite failing to cover the spread, but he made up for it and won. So they're talking about Johnny being like a good running back and that they were favored to win this game. Everyone was expecting a fantastic football game Friday night. Will the Spartans defeat the Colts and cover the spread, or will Winchester pull off the ultimate upset against our beloved Spartans? And what's interesting here, to add to everything, oh, Aaron, there were hot dogs and corn dogs on the menu for the cafeteria. What's interesting here is Joey Ferrari, who manages all spreads and sports betting. In this last paragraph, he writes, "Of course, I'm not a betting man, but if I had to wager on the outcome of this matchup, I'd put every dollar I have on the Spartans to win the game and cover the spread in a high-scoring offensive shootout." So I think this is his kind of like read between the lines, and he was trying to get everyone to bet on the Spartans so that Johnny Rocca could purposefully lose, and then Joey would be making more money. That's what I think happened. Now here it says Jamie Banks had a little blurb in this newspaper, this school paper. She said, "I wanted to apologize to all the readers who noticed I hadn't published my regular monthly investigative report in October. I'm currently concluding research on a huge expose that is sure to shock everyone at the school, along with the entire Verona community. It will be the most mind-blowing story of my 4 years of investigative journalism here at The Voice. This expose will make the investigation about Mr. Griffin stealing wooden ice cream spoons from the cafeteria look like a joke." Stay tuned to next week's paper and prepare to view some of your most revered East Verona Spartans in a whole new light. So I think she was going to expose Joey and Johnny for working together to set up the bets for them to win. So Johnny would fumble and then Joey would win. They probably split the money. So she was doing, and that's why in her journal, if we go back, the journal that was found on her had the spread betting because it says talk to Joey, see what he says. So she was going to place a bet with him because she was doing an expose. She was going to expose his ass. That is crazy. Now, here is something interesting that caught my eye in this newspaper because I am such a good such a good investigator here. This I was going to skip altogether, okay? However, it says here there's ongoing maintenance of the 5th floor girls' bathroom, and it will be continuing to be out of service. What bathroom did they say that Sophie was in? Was that 2nd floor? That might have been 2nd floor, actually. I believe it was the 2nd floor. Okay, that's my bad. The plot does not thicken there. There's nothing really crazy here. It just says the pep rally's at 10 a.m. Okay. Thought I found something, but I didn't. This school is a little goofy for real. So now we have 2 more people, 2 more suspects, and we also have some witness statements. So let's take a look here. This one's continued. This is Craig. Why does it say continued, but I don't have Craig's? That's weird. Name Craig Zimmerman, but that says signature Joey Ferrari. Maybe they're giving me like little, is it because it's on the back? Yeah, it's on the back. Okay, it's okay. The plot will thicken, I promise. Okay, so let's look into Joey Ferrari because he's the one that's in charge of the sports betting. So it says here, he was the last one in the school newspaper room before Jamie Banks jumped out the window. It was first period and he had study hall in the cafeteria. Mr. Griffin is his teacher and he let him go up to the newspaper room if he has a pass from Dr. Gelding to finish up an article or work on clip art or whatever. So Joey claims he signed out of study hall as soon as it started and was in the newspaper room within 4 to 5 minutes after the start of first period. I hope his name is Peter Griffin. So he says when he got there, the door was locked and the lights were out. Since he's a senior on the newspaper staff and he has a key to the room, he let himself in and the door shut and automatically locked behind Joey. He says, I always work on the computer that's on the right side of the room, second from the back. So that's the one I got onto. It took a few minutes to boot up, but pretty soon I was logged in and working on my outline for the story about the game tonight. You never know how a game will unfold, but when it comes to Spartan football, I usually have a pretty good idea about the outcome before the game even starts. Yeah, because he literally sets up the bets. 100%. You taught photography? Oh, wait, no. I think you're quoting Peter Griffin, probably. Okay. He writes his articles beforehand, and then after the game, he plugs in a few game stats, and he's good to go. So that's pretty much setting up that he knows the outcome of the game already. He says, that room gets pretty hot at that time of day. I'm not sure why. Maybe it's the sun or maybe the heat's broken or something, but I opened the window to let some cool air in. I lost track of time and suddenly it was 8:50 and I only had 5 minutes to sign back into study hall, so I saved my outline on a floppy but didn't shut down the computer. Good old floppy disks. I was in a rush, but I'm positive I turned off the light and shut the door behind me. I think I left the window open when I was a sophomore. Someone propped open the door once and some jerks vandalized a bunch of equipment, so Dr. Gelding is really strict about us locking the door behind us ever since. I barely got back to study hall on time. It was in Italian class until the pep rally, so I'm not sure when Jamie went in the newspaper room. Jamie and I both wrote for the school newspaper. I have known her since 8th grade, but we weren't super close outside of that. I know she also asked Gelding to be editor this year, but for some reason he chose Craig instead of either of us. Finally, I'd like to go on the record with my prediction for the game tonight. While these two teams are known for their high-powered offenses and East Verona is favored to win by a few points, I predict it's going to be a long night for the Spartans and the Colts will walk away with the championship. So he predicted the Spartans were going to throw the game or were going to lose, but they purposely threw the game, I think. So I think this is trying to point fingers at Joey for fixing the football games with Johnny, and Jamie was going to expose them. So I think that gives them probable cause or whatever, or motive to kill her. So I think Joey is a pretty good, pretty good suspect. Well, the way you worded it, I thought it was real. Okay, so this is Janice Dowling. She is the principal of the school. She says, at least I think she's the principal, or maybe she's a teacher. She says, today is the worst day of my 17-year teaching career. I'm overwhelmed with grief, but I thoroughly understand the need to conduct a full investigation. I've canceled third period today for an all-school pep rally because the football team is playing in the state championship tonight. Third period starts at 10 a.m. I took a few minutes gathering students on the bleachers so we could take a picture, and they finished around 10 after Robert Romero came running into the gym screaming for help. So they were all at the pep rally. She asked Miss Hawk to watch over the students while Mr. Griffin, Mr. Collier, Mr. Carrier, Miss Stason, and I ran out to see what happened. That's when I saw Jamie on the ground. Sophie Sunday and Olivia Underwood were near her body. They checked for vital signs. They attempted to provide medical attention, but it was clear that she had already passed away. She asked Robert Romero what happened, and he said he was washing his hands in the first floor bathroom when he heard a scream and a loud cracking noise. He ran outside, saw Jamie lying on the ground, and ran to the gym. She saw the open window on the 6th floor above, and it became clear what happened. She was trying to determine which room had the open window, and she realized it was the newspaper room. Tomorrow's your birthday? Nice. My birthday's Friday. She said she got lightheaded and was going to sit down on the ground when she noticed everyone staring at her, so she just took a breath and continued. She told Mr. Griffin to go to the 6th floor to guard the newspaper room door until the police or I had got there. So basically, she just was trying to remain calm. She told the students to wait outside the building, and she told Miss Stason to remain with the body so no one would interfere. She told Mr. Collier to call the police, and she asked Miss Carrier to walk with her to the gym just in case she fainted. She announced that the gym was safe, but there had been an accident, and to remain, so whoever was still in the pep rally, whoever was still in the gym, she told them to stay there. So what's interesting here, Mr. Griffin says the door was locked to the newsroom when he got there. So he just guarded the door, and it was empty when it was opened for the police, and there's only the one way in and one way out. The security camera was pointed at the back lot when she fell, which we already seen. Let's see. She said Jamie was an above average student. She wrote for the paper, was in the drama, etc., etc. Yeah, so she said the guidance counselor, Dr. Gelding, will know a lot more about her because she would visit him often, and as well as Mr. Preakness because they worked closely together. Here is an interesting statement, and I think this is where the plot, it's already thick, but it's extra thick, because she says here, Mr. Preakness, who is the teacher that I think is super sus, she says, the students love Mr. Preakness, especially the girls. I wonder why, Mr. Preakness. I wonder why. I wonder why. Okay, and for the sake of knowing what they look like, this is Principal Janice Dowling. So she is the principal. That is the witness statement we just read. We already showed Joey Ferrari, but in case you want to see Joey Ferrari, this is Joey Ferrari. I think those are the only two witness statements we read so far. Okay. So the first objective that we have to figure out is who was in the room with her. That's all we need to figure out. That's objective 1, and that is where we open the first envelope. So here is Craig Zimmerman. Let me see if we have a picture of Craig here. Here. This is Craig Zimmerman. And he says he was sitting next to Liz Adams at the pep rally. So it couldn't have been Craig. He's the one that wrote the really bad review about Jamie. But he was in the pep rally photo. He was at the pep rally, so he has an alibi. It was definitely not Craig, so we can rule him out. For right now, the people missing are highlighted on the top, and I think the prime suspects are Olivia, Sophie, I guess the teacher. I don't think it was him, but I think there was something sus going on there, and Johnny and Robert. But Robert's the one that found her, so I don't think it could have been Robert either. Anyways, so Craig says here, within a few minutes, there was a buzz around the crowd, and someone they heard jumped out the window. He frantically looked around the room for Jamie because he was worried about how she was reacting to his horrible review. So it seems like he actually cared about Jamie to a degree, even though he wrote that nasty review. He said he heard someone say her name and he didn't want to accept it and hoped that he heard it wrong, but the principal approached me and said the police might need to talk to me about the review, so that's why they thought he was sus. Jamie was one of my closest friends. We had our ups and downs, and it was upsetting to me that we couldn't be more than friends. I knew it. Did I not guess that? I said he left that review because it was incel behavior, because I bet he wanted Jamie, but Jamie wanted the teacher. I literally guessed that, and he said it was upsetting to me that we couldn't be more than friends, but I'm horrified to think she killed herself over what I wrote. I literally sensed it. How you doing, Twitch viewer 027? Oh my God, I sniped it. So good. He says, I feel so guilty and ashamed. I even met with Dr. Gelding second period before the pep rally. He pulled me out of class to talk about the review, and together we came up with a plan to try to fix the mistake. Gelding was always looking out for Jamie, but it was too late. All I wanted was for her to give us a chance. We got along so well. She said her heart belonged to another man, but she couldn't reveal who it was yet, or others could get hurt. It's not like Jamie to have an affair, so I assume she made it all up to blow me off. That's why I was so upset. It's why I wrote that horrible review. I thought she was the one, and now I'm quite certain my words have killed her. So he thinks Jamie killed herself, and he claims she was having an affair, and the detective asked Mr. Preakness, and Preakness tried to kind of blame Johnny because they dated like a few summers back, but it wasn't him. So I think it was the teacher. I wonder why, Noise. I wonder why. So now we have the final witness statement without the full interview, and that is Robert Romero. So this is Robert Romero. He's the one that found the body. So he claims he's the first one to find the body. Seeing her laying there was a horrible experience. I've never seen anything like that in my life. I'm still really shaken up about the whole thing. I was in the first floor bathroom and lost track of time because I kept reading Craig's review over and over again. Best review I've ever gotten. But then I realized I was late for the pep rally, so I was rushing to wash my hands and leave. When I heard her, it was about 10 minutes after the bell rang for third period. So it was probably about 10:10 a.m. This time thing is so bizarro to me. Because how would it be 10:10 a.m. if the pictures on the camera show that at 10:30? Oh, it's not 10:30. I'm reading it wrong. It's 10:10:30. I see. So it was 10:10. I read it wrong. That is my bad. 10:10. Okay. So I read it wrong. It was not 10:31. It was 10:30 or 10:10 and then the minute or the seconds, I guess. So it was halfway through 10:10 is when the body fell. So let me correct that here. It says it was a weird sound. I heard a woman scream and then something hitting the ground really hard. The noise came from right outside the bathroom, so I rushed out the door and around the corner to the exit to help. I got there pretty quick before anyone else. I kneeled down beside Jamie. It was a surreal moment since it was exactly like we had rehearsed so many times in Act 5, Scene 3. Only this time, we weren't acting. Dun, dun, dun. She was perfectly motionless, no noise, no movement, just laying there dead. It took me a moment to realize I needed to get help, and everybody was in the gym, so I ran over there and got Mrs. Dowling and a bunch of teachers and brought them back to her. He understood why she would lose it with all the pressure, and she was playing the lead, and that was more than enough pressure for one person. The amount of work they put in was crazy. She was up until midnight working on the sunset for the background, like I guess on the set. She even used her own money to buy paint because I heard Mr. Preakness say something about paying her back. Maybe he was into the sports betting. Do you think? Maybe it wasn't paint after all. She was also writing for the newspaper and had a big expose coming up that people were talking about. Everybody was trying to guess who it was about. I don't think they will cancel Saturday's performance because I have incredible chemistry with Jamie's understudy. Olivia and I have like a cosmic connection. Weird. Mr. Preakness knows I wanted Olivia to be my Juliet, but he did not take kindly to my creative input. I believe we should probably donate a portion of the proceeds from Saturday's performance to Jamie's family, or maybe the suicide hotline or something. As the lead male for the production, it's my responsibility to take charge on initiatives like that, so I'm going to ask Mr. Preakness if he can do it. I think Robert's pretty innocent. I think he's just so concerned about his play and his performance and stuff. He's kind of cringy, but I really don't think he's a suspect. I don't think. Yeah, $100 is a lot for paint. Like, I think it could just be that it was not for paint and it could have been for like a bet. So the next suspect here is Sophie Sunday. She is the running back's girlfriend, the coach's daughter, and apparently she was in the bathroom at the time of the pep rally. So, oh wow, she's a little obsessive. It says she has a tattoo inside a heart on her ankle that says JCR, Johnny Rocca. So she's kind of like obsessive, I think. It says right before third period, she spilled tab all over her sweater. She was upset and she wanted to do something before it dried, so she spilled so much of it and she was crying. Then she heard a scream and something hit the ground, so I ran to the window to look out. I had mascara in my eyes, so it was kind of hard to see, but I could still make out that it was Jamie Banks. She saw Robert Romero run over to her, kneel down beside her, and then take off. And by the time she got there, Olivia Underwood was standing near the body. It says, people who can confirm her whereabouts, Olivia and Janice. Yeah. I guess like she definitely was in the bathroom or definitely was at the body, I guess is what she's trying to say. All right. So here, she says she was one of the first people to get to the body. She was in the second floor bathroom when she heard her fall. They had just finished up second period and the pep rally was starting. And then she spilled something on her sweater, etc., etc. She heard the scream. She saw Robert run up to Jamie. It said Olivia looked like she was going to throw up when she saw her by Jamie's body. She didn't know Jamie well because she spent most of her time with her friends on the cheerleading squad or with her boyfriend. And apparently Jamie is more grunge and into music and acting. She says she hopes that it doesn't affect Johnny in the game tonight. Coming through in a high-stakes game is an important step for his career, and she didn't want to see anything get in the way of that. I don't think it could have been Sophie. Huh. Holy shit, I think it was Johnny. Holy shit, guys. Listen to this. The detective says, we're questioning everyone who wasn't at the pep rally to find out if they have any more information. There was a picture taken of everyone in the gym at the same time when Jamie fell and you weren't in it. And she says, was Johnny in the picture? Johnny Rocca? And the detective says, what makes you ask that? And she says, well, when I wrote my statement, I didn't say he was with me, but he was. In the girls' bathroom? Yeah, is Johnny going to get in trouble for this? What were you doing? What were you two doing in there? So why would she ask if he was in the picture if he was with her? Obviously, he wouldn't be in the picture. Weird. She says, I asked Johnny to wait outside the bathroom for me while I tried to clean up a stain I've gotten on my sweater. Can you believe that happened on the day of the big game? Boys will be boys, and Johnny wouldn't stay put. He snuck into the bathroom. We started kissing. Please don't spread that around. I don't want him to get in trouble for being in there. He got the championship to focus on. He'd only been in there a moment, and that's when we heard her fall. There was a scream and a loud thump. It was awful. Apparently, they ran over to the window and looked down. She was just lying there, and she said she had some mascara in her eyes, so she couldn't tell what she was looking at. She saw Robert, and they decided to go down and see if they could help. And she said, and then the detective said, why didn't Johnny go with you? And then took a long pause, and she didn't answer. And he says, Sophie? And Sophie says, I told him not to. I was afraid he'd get in trouble for being in the girls' bathroom when he was supposed to be at the pep rally. And the detective says that she seems very protective over Johnny. And she said, he's my boyfriend. I'd do anything for him. I don't want anything to stand in the way of his career. Anything? Would you lie for him? Johnny has nothing to hide. And the detective said that that didn't answer the question. Would you lie to protect Johnny? There's no reason to, so no. Are you aware of Johnny being involved in any sports betting? Betting? He wouldn't do that. Johnny says he hates gambling, and anyone who says otherwise about him is a liar. But Johnny is definitely into gambling with Joey. So I think she has good intention, but I think she's just really blind to what her boyfriend's into. The detective said, did it bother you that Johnny and Jamie were close? And Sophie says no, because they weren't close at all. She's not his type. Even though they dated a few years ago, it was ages ago and it meant nothing to him apparently. There's a rumor that Jamie was in a secret relationship. Maybe it was with Johnny, and Sophie said that's absurd. And the detective kind of goes savage here. The detective says, not really. I mean, maybe she actually is his type, but you're the coach's daughter, and it'd be better for his football career to date you, even if his heart belonged to someone else. That is like really shady of a detective to say that. She says, no way. Listen, I know what Johnny's up to 24/7. He certainly hasn't been having any secret relationship with Jamie. He's my boyfriend. No one else is. And I'll do anything in my power to make sure it stays that way. And the detective says, including getting rid of the competition. And Sophie said, there's no competition. And the detective said, let's get back to what happened when you went out to see the body. Did you immediately know who it was? Sophie said, yeah, I already knew it was Jamie from the bathroom window before I got down there. How far would you say you were from the victim? Maybe 3 to 4 feet. Who else was at the body? Olivia Underwood. It was just me and her until Mrs. Dowling and all the teachers got there. Is there anything else you want to add? She said, no, just please don't tell Johnny. Don't tell anyone Johnny was in the girls' bathroom with me. Why is she so set on, like, people not knowing he was in the washroom? Like, who the hell cares? I don't know. There's something not adding up here. I don't know what it is. It's something that has to do with Johnny and Joey. The last person we have here is Benjamin Gelding, who is the guidance counselor. In short, he had to miss the pep rally so he could work on some letters of recommendation that needed to be submitted before the end of the day. So he was in his office when he heard sirens outside, and that's when he walked to the gym and found out what happened. And he had people that can confirm his whereabouts. So he was in his office. So basically, his witness statement, he said it was very hard to put into words, like, what had happened. He said Jamie was a seemingly normal young woman. He was her guidance counselor for 4 years at the East Verona High School, and he helps run the school newspaper that she writes for. So he was, I guess, close with her as well outside of being her guidance counselor. Apparently, he took his wife and his kids to see her in the Romeo and Juliet play, and he thought she was incredible. So he's confused as to why she would do that because, like, she had so much going for her. How you doing, James? It says here, he says, well, I'm not sure, but everything is not what it seems with Jamie for 2 reasons you should be aware of. First, Jamie had been struggling with bipolar tendencies. She'd been meeting with him for every few months over the past 2 years for manic depression. She was originally referred to me for this issue after she broke down in tears during a vocabulary quiz. During her dark time, she expressed suicidal ideations to me on a number of occasions, including thoughts about how she would do it. I should have referred her to outside counseling. I just thought we had it under control, and I couldn't have been more wrong. So he's convinced she committed suicide. The second reason is that she was involved in a secret, forbidden relationship. So it seems like all these people know about this secret relationship, but don't know who this person is. It says here, oh, this is interesting. Jamie told me one of the reasons Mr. Preakness gave her the part of Juliet was because she told him she was presently in a forbidden relationship and it helped her relate to the character. She told me to keep this relationship a secret or a lot of people would get hurt. Jamie was an investigative reporter and very sharp, so I doubt we'll ever know who it was. I talked to Craig Zimmerman this morning. He's the young man who wrote the negative review about her performance. Turns out he asked her to be his girlfriend on Tuesday, and she told him she didn't have feelings for him like that. I guess the review was his way of working through rejection. You might consider talking to Johnny Rocca. I believe they dated for a short time a few years ago. He's with the coach's daughter. I asked everyone who works on the school paper, and Joey Ferrari was the last person in the newspaper room before Jamie. He might have some clues about the room that would be helpful. I'd also encourage you to speak with Mr. Preakness. He gets very close with students, especially the female leads in his plays, although we've never had any official incidences regarding the issue here at the school. Okay, hold the phone here. Hold the phone. Thank you, James. I am so confused that every teacher they've spoke to, the teacher, the principal, everyone claims Mr. Preakness gets a liking to the girl students, especially the female leads in his plays, although they hadn't had official incidents regarding that issue. They somehow know that there is something sus going on with the teacher and the female students at the school, and yet no one has done anything. That is strange, especially coming from the principal and the guidance counselor. That is so weird. It says, hope they can address the issue, swiftly help bring closure to the East Verona students. It's not going to be easy. That is so weird. Very strange. Why? I don't know why they would not investigate that. No worries, James. Have a good afternoon. Okay. So the interview, basically, they are asking him about her mental state. it says, we're still investigating whether anyone was in the newsroom with her when it happened. And Gelding was confused because they thought she was alone. Like, he thought she was alone. And Joey Ferrari was the last one in the room because he had spoken with every member of the newspaper and asked them. But apparently, Joey was in the gym when it happened. And he's not missing from this paper. So it couldn't have been Joey. It says here, the only seniors that had keys to the room were Craig, Joey, Marilyn, and Jamie. Marilyn Roberts is also missing from this picture, but weirdly enough, she is not present in any of these interviews, and I'm not really sure why that is. It says Zimmerman and Joey were both in the school photo, and Marilyn took the photo. That's why she's not in the picture. So Marilyn technically was at the pep rally. He said he had a key as well, but he hadn't been in the room all day. He left his pad of hall passes in there last night and didn't pick them up this morning, and the police haven't let him back in the room. They had a meeting after school yesterday. The students pitched their stories for next week, and he had to write the assignments on the chalkboard. He brought his pad to write passes for anyone who wants to get out of study hall to work on articles, like Ferrari. I left the passes in the room by accident. Jamie could have let anyone in the room, though, since she had a key. Why do you think she wasn't alone? Was Jamie dating anyone? And then he talks about the secret affair. She was a private person, and they wouldn't discuss that when they were in the newspaper room together, obviously, because he's a teacher. He says he wasn't alone all morning. He had a session with Craig Zimmerman before the pep rally regarding the awful review, and there was some tension that he wanted to resolve with that. He just had a broken heart, etc., etc. It says he didn't have any passes, so he had to walk Zimmerman back to class. He probably got him there around 10 minutes before the bell. He wanted to get back to his office, but the students in his class were really excited to show me what they were working on and begged me to come in and have a look. After I'd seen everything, the bell rang, the students went to the pep rally, and I returned to my office. So he chose paperwork over a state championship pep rally, but he had a lot of letters of recommendation to submit for the weekend. So he had he was overwhelmed with work, and that's why he didn't go to the pep rally. He believes that she killed herself because she was struggling with bipolar, and she had thoughts previously. The detective does say he thinks the expose was about sports betting, so I did snipe that as well. And that would explain her secrecy. Joey takes all the bets. He's known as the school bookie. Everyone knows, but we kind of look the other way. Kind of similar to the way they overlook the freaking pedo teacher. So basically, he just talks about that he doesn't doubt it was a suicide, and he said he would reach out if there was anything new that he could come up with. So basically, the first objective is to prove someone was in the room with Jamie just before she died. Now, I honestly don't think I have any solid proof that someone was in the room with Jamie besides that she was pushed. I don't know what proof they really want. It says, when you can prove someone was in the room with Jamie just before she died, visit this webpage to see if you're right. I think we should just collectively, I think that Joey is guilty. It's either Joey or Johnny. It says who's missing from the picture. Johnny and Sophie. I think Sophie could be lying that Johnny was with her. I don't think it was Robert Romero because he found the body and he was just in the washroom. I think, if anything, Olivia is probably being painted as guilty, but I don't think it was Olivia either. But But what's interesting to me is if I go back to Olivia's statement here, it says that Sophie, hold on. Sophie is her alibi here. Like it says here that Sophie can confirm her whereabouts, and it's just because she was at the body. I think it could be Johnny or Joey, I think. I mean, there's also the teacher who was in like the relationship with her, but I don't know. I think it could also be the teacher. Because he claims he wasn't at the pep rally because he was working on a set and she had paint on her shoes. He claims he was all by himself. And he has no people confirming his whereabouts. Like, he has no person to say, yes, I was there. Or, like, whatever. He was completely alone. But why would he be alone working on this set during the pep rally with absolutely no one? That's what I'm not getting. Because everyone else, like, if I look at Joey and Johnny. How you doing, Jonah? If we look at Johnny, his alibi is only Sophie, but Sophie was in the bathroom. So I feel like Johnny might be safe. And as far as Joey actually doesn't say. It says he left the window open and he was in Italian class until the pep rally. So I don't think it was Joey. But it's interesting. I think it was either Johnny or the teacher. Should I look it up? Should we finalize a guess here? You think it was Johnny? Okay, I honestly think it was, I want to say it was the teacher because he's the only one that doesn't have a confirmed, he was alone. Like, I don't think it should be the teacher because I think the teacher was in a secret relationship with her. Oh my God, wait. What if her expose wasn't on betting? What if it was an expose on, like, dating and, like, the teacher? Okay, hold the phone. I'm going to quickly... Okay, hold on, let me see. Unsolved case. So can you prove Jamie wasn't alone? Oh, there's a document. Use this form to verify your answer to objective 1. Okay. Which document on the list below proves Jamie was not alone when she fell? Oh, you need proof. You need actual proof. Okay, so it says don't get distracted by all the suspects and their motives. Your objective is to only prove that Jamie wasn't alone. Okay. So it says, so the picture of Jamie's body, which we definitely had already seen, we had noticed the shoe. We had noticed the shoe was missing. We had already seen that. What I'm thinking is, remember, was it Joey or Johnny? One of them said she had paint on her shoe. I wonder if she was actually with the teacher and he took off her shoe to try and, like, clean it or something so that he wouldn't be a suspect. Take a look at the camera footage. Hold on a sec. I know. I got it. If you take a look at the footage here, so say we look at anything before 10:36, you can see, if you look, I don't know if it's kind of hard to see. She has no shoe on. She has that no shoe situation. However, if you look at anything after 10:38, the shoe is there beside her. So someone must have been like, oh, fuck, she can't just leave one shoe up here. So they threw the shoe down and it landed beside her. So that proves there was someone in the room with her, because the shoe had to have gotten there somehow. So I think it's the shoe. Hi, Elphones. We're solving a cold case. Okay, so we're going to go photo, and we're going to go, hold on, where is it here? Where's the evidence? Security camera. We're going to go security camera, and the suspect, or not, crime scene photo, victim on the ground. Oh, you can only select one. Okay, let's try the security. Looks like we're close. Which two frames are you looking at? We're looking at 10:10:37 and 10:10:38, I believe. Solved objective 1. Someone must have been in the room with Jamie. You can now open the envelope marked bonus envelope A. It says, you discovered that Jamie's right shoe suddenly appeared in the frame between 10:10:37 and 10:10:38. There's no explanation for a shoe to land 7 seconds after she landed, unless someone was up there to throw it down after her. One of those suspects must be lying. Okay, so we get to open bonus envelope A. Oh my God. I want to know what's in here. This is intense. Is that it? All right. Okay, objective 2 is find the suspect who's lying. One of the 5 suspects lied about where they were on the day Jamie Banks died. So someone's lying. I knew someone had to have been lying, and I think it's either the teacher or Joey. But the thing is, Mason, is even though it took an hour and 45 minutes for the first part, we've looked at all of the evidence. So basically, like, this is just putting together the new evidence with all of that back evidence. Okay, so we got this newspaper of Jamie Banks. It was her death. It says she was the only child of Andy and Linda. She was a senior, as well as a sweet, beautiful, kind young woman who will be missed by many. She was an investigative reporter for her high school newspaper, The Voice, and also a very talented actress, and was Juliet in Romeo and Juliet. And she died right after opening night. It says her funeral service will be held on Thursday morning at 10 a.m., followed by the rite of committal at Capulet Cemetery in East Verona. In lieu of flowers, please consider donating to the Foundation of Suicide Prevention. Aw, Craig made that happen. It says, oh, that's it. Oh my God, that's kind of funny. 1993, it says, everyone who buys a ticket to see Aladdin, I guess that's when Aladdin came out. There's nothing really on the back here. Did Sophie know where everyone is and confirm it all? Well, I think Sophie could be lying about, well, I think multiple people can be lying, because Sophie asked if Johnny was in the photo at the pep rally, but like, why would she ask that if Johnny was with her? You know what I mean? What else did we get here? Suicide Prevention Foundation. To the investigators responsible for reopening my daughter's case. Oh, this is from Linda Banks. I'm so grateful for your efforts in reopening Jamie's case. It means the world to me, especially now. You see, my husband just passed away last month, and he went to his grave thinking his only child may very well have committed suicide. Deep down, we had trouble wrapping our heads around both the police findings and what Dr. Gelding revealed about her mental state. We didn't even know she'd sought counseling. This just wasn't our Jamie. My husband loved her more than life itself, and the idea of Jamie taking her own life forever killed his spirit. But I take comfort in thinking that he now knows the truth, and I can't tell you the tears of joy as well as sorrow it brings me to know they are together again. Aww. It says, oh my god, wait, guys, look what it says. So many people were torn up by her death. At the gravesite just after her burial, I remember Paul Preakness, the drama teacher, by the way, falling to his knees and crying like a baby. It broke my heart. I didn't know what else to do but go over and hug him. He seemed like he wanted to tell me something that day, but he couldn't, and I never saw him again. I knew he meant a lot to Jamie, but I had no idea how attached he'd also been to her. I still see some of her old classmates from time to time, and it tears open wounds that have never healed. After he was indicted into the Hall of Fame in Canton last week, Johnny Rocca came back to town with Sophie and their children. They had children since then. I ran into them all at the park while walking the dog. Johnny Jr. had to help me to a bench because out of nowhere I broke down thinking about what Jamie's children might have been like. Jamie's dad and I saw Olivia Underwood in an interview just a few weeks before he passed. She's a big Hollywood star now and was gushing about her first big break in high school production, Romeo and Juliet. Bye. So many years have passed, but it still ripped us apart. We sobbed in each other's arms till we fell asleep that night. I don't think it was Olivia, though. I beg you, please do not give up on your efforts until justice is served. I included her obituary notice to remind you of the amazing young woman behind this unsolved case file. Our beautiful daughter is gone from this world forever, but her killer is still out there. Please don't give up until you've solved the case. Okay. So what I think, yes, Fragaboom, I agree. I think, okay, in terms of guilt, I actually don't think that I think Joey is still a pretty big suspect, but I also feel at the same time, would he have not at least gone to Jamie's funeral to make it not seem sus? So I feel like Joey is like has reason to be the killer, but I don't think he did it. I think it was either Johnny, Sophie, or the teacher that we basically have to find the suspect who's lying. And one of them lied about where they were. And I get the vibe it's Johnny. Because Sophie wasn't lying about where she was, but she was lying about where Johnny was. So it's not Johnny who lied, and it's not the teacher. The teacher. Like the guidance counselor. I thought he was innocent. This is crazy. So, hold on. So it says here that Dr. Gelding was seeing Jamie, but the parents didn't even know she was having mental issues, which is interesting because wouldn't she tell her family that she was having issues? He missed the pep rally, Dr. Gelding. Hold on. He missed the pep rally, and it says he had to write some letters of recommendation that needed to be submitted. I think the part where he seems like he could be lying is in his interview. It says he left the passes in the room by accident, and I'm assuming, hold on, there was something. So he didn't really have good timing. Like, it's like we were done near the end of second period. Can you be more specific? I didn't have any passes, so he had to walk him back to class 10 minutes before the bell. He wanted to get back to his office, but the students in his class were really excited and begged him to come in and have a look. And the students went to the pep rally, and he returned to his office. So he was somewhere else at the pep rally, and they were very surprised that he chose the paperwork over the state championship pep rally, which is kind of weird. He was insistent that Jamie was suicidal. I think that's also interesting because I don't think anyone else knew she was being seen for any mental health stuff. So I guess yeah, maybe. It says, the detective says, Zimmerman and Joey were both in the school photo and Marilyn took it, but we couldn't find you in there, Dr. Gelding. Do you have a key to that room? Gelding said, me? Yeah, well, of course, but I haven't been in that room all day. The detective says, are you sure? And Gelding says, certain. I left my pad of hall passes in there last night. I didn't pick them up this morning, and the police haven't let me back in the room to get them. But when we continue reading, he lied because in his class, the students were really excited to show him what they've been working on and begged him to come in and have a look. Wouldn't that be referring to the newsroom? He had written on the chalkboard. Correct. This picture here of the writing on the chalkboard, that is proof that he was in there. He added a news story to the chalkboard that happened that morning because he's talking about the Spartans. So I guess the other clue could be the newspaper article proving that the Spartans had a game, is what I'm gathering. And the obituary, I guess, because the newspaper, hold on. Let's get that out here. So the newspaper says, oh, I see. Okay. So this picture here with his current events, it says, this week's stories, it says, Dakota saves Sampson. And if you look at the obituary, it's a current event on the back. It says, his wife of 44 years, Mrs. Bertha Sampson, said she and her husband are eternally grateful for Dakota taking the time to learn CPR. I'd be a widow today if it weren't for his knowledge of what to do in such a situation in Verona. So basically that proves that he was in the room on that Friday because he was writing about the current events in the class that day. Wow, that's some deep evidence investigation. What the heck? Okay. So that means we can do envelope B. So let's see. I hope I can finish this. I have 15 minutes, but I feel like now that we've gone through all the evidence, I feel like it'll be quick. Okay. What do we got here? I only have this and one more envelope. Oh, wow. We didn't get as much evidence in this one. Okay. This one is convict the killer. Okay, so this is a letter to whom it may concern. It says, I want to personally and sincerely thank you for your work on the Jamie Banks case. I'm hoping your efforts will finally uncover what happened to that lovely young woman. It was so long ago, I believe Judy Marston and I are the only remaining faculty members who were also present on that dreadful day. I still remember it like it was yesterday. This is from the principal. I've heard that you may be focusing your investigation on Dr. Gelding. You should know that immediately after Jamie was found dead, Dr. Gelding worked tirelessly by my side to help students and staff get through that senseless tragedy. I don't think any of us could have endured it without him. I recently asked Judy what she recalled about that day, and she shared a story about Dr. Gelding I thought you should hear since it happened moments before Jamie died. He had stopped into her studio art class to drop off a student, and the class was bursting with excitement to show him what they'd been working on. Despite being in a huge rush, he lovingly took the time with every student to praise their efforts right up until the bell rang. There's no way this caring man murdered a student mere moments later. I felt the need to reach out to you to share this anecdote and confirm that Dr. Gelding was always there for his students and they loved him. I can attest to his incredible kindness and genuine caring nature for everyone at the school, as well as his impeccable integrity and pristine record as our guidance counselor. It would definitely be a waste of your noble efforts to pursue Dr. Gelding. Better to focus on the others so justice can be served for Jamie more quickly. But I suppose you're the expert. If I can help in any way, please let me know. So basically, this is the principal trying to say, like, you know, like, it was not Dr. Gelding. He would never do that, whatever. But I don't really know how that's going to get us to convict the killer. I don't really know which clue directly connects the killer to Jamie. Okay, so to connect this, on this evidence sheet, it says that her shoes, which I did remember, had paint and a smudge of clay on the heel of the right shoe. So I think that's very important because that means she was in the art room beforehand. And I believe the clay could have come from, like, the set, like the Romeo and Juliet set that she had been working on. And if I'm not mistaken, one of them said she was working on the set. Was it Craig, Principal Dowling? No. Is it this? Or is it the other one? Maybe it's not that one. Oh, interesting. It says here, there was a pottery Olympics competition and the studio art class had been testing the limits of the new pottery wheels. Okay, so maybe she was in that. And Paul Preakness was on the set. Oh, the letter from the principal. Oh, wait. Okay, so the principal, wait. So the principal claimed on this paper where she's talking about Dr. Gelding, she said he stopped by the studio art class to drop off a student, which was Craig, I believe, and the clay on the shoe of Jamie proves that she was in that studio art class when Dr. Gelding was in there. So after that class is when she must have gone to the newsroom, and that's when Dr. Gelding randomly went back to his office instead of going to the pep rally, which is strange. That's the answer. Oh my God, there's even a news video. Hold on, let me share this in the chat.
The Verona community is in shock today over a chilling murder confession of former high school guidance counsellor Dr. Benjamin Gelding. We now go to Ali, who is live at East Verona High School.
Thank you, Seb. Dr. Benjamin Gelding worked as a guidance counselor here at East Verona High School for over 35 years until retiring in 2015. Earlier today, he confessed to pushing a student out of the 6th floor window of the school on November 20th, 1992. According to Verona PD, Gelding was having an affair with the student and pushed her out of the window when she threatened to go public about their relationship. Dr. Gelding also covered up the crime by creating a fake suicide note and lying to police about the victim's past history of suicidal thoughts. For more information about that investigation, I'll turn it over to Ron, live from the Verona police station.
Thanks, Allie. Ms. Banks' death was originally ruled a suicide by Verona police detectives, but was recently reopened due to new information provided by an independent investigator who was able to prove Ms. Banks was not alone when she fell from the window, and proved Dr. Gelding lied about his whereabouts on the day of the murder. Currently in his 70s, Dr. Gelding is facing multiple charges and is expected to spend the rest of his life behind bars. Back to you in the studio, Seb.
Thanks, Ron. We'll have more information on this story as it develops. And after the break, we have exclusive interviews about the Johnny Rocker High School football betting scandal. We'll hear from two of his former teammates, Emmanuel Russell and James Lowe. Stay tuned.
That's so fucked. So we literally had the right motive, wrong teacher. They just tried to like make Mr. Preakness seem sus, but he probably was sus. Like he probably literally liked her, but she was with Dr. Gelding. That is crazy. Now this is the last envelope, and these are the only papers left. It's a witness statement from Joey Ferrari, and basically he says, after seeing the news reports about Jamie Banks and Dr. Gelding, I've decided to come forward with information I've withheld for decades about this case. I knew that Jamie and Gelding were having an affair, but I never told anyone. It happened when I was visiting Earl Sampson on the 5th floor bathroom a few days before Jamie died. I was near the window and heard the sounds of two people kissing in the newsroom. You could tell there was a great passion because the kissing was quite loud, but I couldn't tell who it was until Gelding started describing the parts of his brain that were getting activated, and Jamie laughed. I kept my mouth shut because I think Jamie was about to write a story exposing my betting scam with Johnny, and I didn't want to draw any attention to myself. That's right, Johnny Rocca and I cheated Verona out of thousands of dollars with a betting scheme I concocted. Johnny could single-handedly control the games, but he refused to lose, so I got him to keep the scores close and we'd bet against the spread. It worked great until the championship when our team was only favored by 3 points. I wanted a sure win, so I talked him into throwing it completely and letting the Colts win by a landslide. It worked, and we cleaned up over $100,000 in cash. That cash would have really helped me in college. Too bad we took it to Atlantic City on Thanksgiving break. They freaking spent it all. And then it says a voluntary statement. This is the Gelding, basically he confessed, I murdered Jamie Banks on Friday, November 20th, 1992. As a mental health counselor familiar with impulse control disorders, I attribute my actions to a momentary suppression of the anterior cingulate and the middle frontal whatever, triggered by a rush of whatever from my adrenal glands. In other words, I freaked out, but scientific understanding hasn't been able to reduce the shame I've endured through the years. Perhaps a full confession today will. Jamie didn't write a suicide note, and she wasn't bipolar. Jamie and I were having an affair. She was attracted to my intellect and wisdom. I started one day about a month before she died. She just leaned in and kissed me. I knew it was wrong, but our passion for each other burned like a wildfire. Guilt chased me like a dark cloud, but still I could not resist. But eventually I knew I had to end it before someone got hurt, so I asked her to meet me in the newspaper room in order to break up with her when everyone else was at the pep rally. So basically, he just admitted that he did it. And that's it. In other words, I freaked out. Yeah. And then he tried to end the relationship, and then basically she threatened to publish it in The Voice, and that's why she said, oh, I'm gonna do an expose, whatever, and she was gonna destroy his life. It was fight or flight. He claims like he just gasped and watched her body fall to the pavement and shoved her out the window. That's actually insane. And then the shoe was caught under his foot. He panicked and threw it after her. That's crazy. And then he told about the suicidal ideations to provide closure for the family, but to make it easier, but whatever. Oh my God. If it wasn't for my chalkboard revision in a town and a tour through the art studio, I would have gotten away with it. What a crazy son of a gun.